If instead of playing Cartethyia, you find yourself shouting, "Random bullshit, go!" then stick around, because I'm here to teach you Cartethyia gameplay. She is literally 2 characters in one, so technically, you have access to 4 different characters on field when you play her. With Ciaccona, you don't really need to control all 4 characters at one time, but with any other character, that might be a necessity. My name is Void Enigma, and I'll be doing a thorough guide on Cartethyia's team rotation. We'll be going over both easy rotations as well as high-stake quickswap. This will include characters like Sanhua, Ciaccona, Pheobe, and I'll show you some amazing quickswap tricks with Aero Rover. Make sure to subscribe to help support the channel and strap yourselves into the void because we've got a lot to learn. Before I begin to discuss Fleurdelys and Cartethyia combos, let me first make sure that everyone knows who Fleurdelys and Cartethyia is. Fleurdelys is the tall, hot, sexy goddess, right? Cartethyia is the tiny, small, cute angel, right? We really know the difference between these two, right? Cartethyia, small, Fleurdelys, big. Easy. An easy way to remember is that Fleurdelys is barefoot, and Cartethyia has the shoes on, or the sandals, or whatever. I know you foot lovers will definitely know the difference. Cartethia's best partner is without a doubt Aero Rover, but how exactly does she work in this rotation? Firstly, you can easily play Cartethia's best in slot team with Ciaccona by doing the following. Start with Aero Rover's Liberation, use her Resonant skill, / land, heavy attack to / forward, then Resonant skill, / land, and you will have filled her gauge. This is important because of Aero Rover's sword buff. It's massive, so you want to use this once every rotation. After you achieve that, use the grounded resonance skill and your outro should be ready, or at least near ready. Then you'll swap to Ciaccona. From here, Ciaccona will come in with 1 stack, and you will keep attacking by doing jump, basic, land, jump, basic, land. Important note here. Ciaccona is designed to interrupt herself by using certain parts of her kit, like her resonance skill for example. So, if Ciaccona is just doing what any bard normally does, meaning their own thing, just cast her resonance skill to interrupt it and put her right back on track. Make sure you squeeze in that resonance skill somewhere at least, even if you wait till after. Now make sure that you have at least 75% of her Caserto gauge here, and then pop her Liberation. You can immediately swap to Cartethyia after she starts singing. After she does her heavy attack with her intro skill, then with Cartethyia, you're going to use her basic attack 4 combo, and then her resonance skill, and finally end it all with a plunge. Activate Cartethia's Liberation, which will turn her into Fleurdelys, and then wreak havoc on the enemy. Easy peasy rotation with minimal effort. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the nitty gritty of the matter. Precise and awesome quickswaps. We will discuss Aero Rover and Ciaccona first, of course. Let's check out this amazing tech that you could take advantage of, the Aero Rover Resonance Skill Quickswap. Firstly, always start combat with her Liberation. It fills her gauge slightly, and it's all we need to smooth out this rotation. So normally, when you use Aero Rover's Resonance skill and you attempt to swap off, you really don't get anything for her gauge. You'll just kind of plunge when you go back into her, or you'll end up on the ground entirely if you're super slow with swapping. There's a cool way to actually get a character action in between the initial cast of a Resonance skill, and then you'll be able to follow up with aerial cuts, and that will help to fill up her gauge. Sadly, this is insanely difficult to do on phone, but you can still do it if you put your character menu on the left hand side, so just change your layout a little bit. You want to press the Resonance skill button and Ciaccona at the same time. If done correctly, Aero Rover will stay in the air, and there's a pretty sizable window to actually do some actions with Ciaccona and Cartethyia. You'll eventually want to swap back to Aero Rover to finish up the mid-air combo, and once that second aerial / lands and you begin to plunge, swap back to Ciaccona so that she can do her aerial combo, and then land and get a stack. Once you get that stack, you'll want to do this again with Aero Rover. What you've done is simultaneously gotten Aero Rover's gauge half filled, or fully filled if you've done it twice, and you've also gotten some erosion on the enemy and 2/3 of Ciaccona's gauge filled out. This technique is phenomenal for quicker rotations and faster clears, but it's actually pretty hard to get down right. It will take some time to master it, but once you master it, it is actually quite easy to do. What you can do instead though, if that's just too much trouble, is just use the resonance skill normally, and after the second attack lands, the same thing. You're gonna swap to Ciaccona and get a stack, achieving the same thing essentially. Don't hesitate to swap to Cartethyia after Ciaccona to squeeze in a resonance skill or some basic attacks, and it's quite easy to do. Think of it when you're actually swapping as to use character 3, then 2, then 1. 3, 2, 1. You can also just take it slow and focus on 2 characters at once and then ease into adding that 3rd character. And sometimes you may not even want to go to the 3rd character, just take it at your own pace. It's a single player game after all. That's really all there is to it to Aero Rover. However, with Ciaccona, it's very easy. Let me show you some cool stacking mechanics for her. Jump, basic, land. Jump, basic, land. Jump, basic, land. Full stacks. She's basically saying, I could jump, but I'm a hop with pizzazz type of bard. I'm never doing that again. This is the essence of what you actually want to do with her when you're swapping with Ciaccona. You always want to be in the air when you actually start her basic attack combo. If she's not in the air, just jump. The reason for this is, you skip the entire beginning of her basic attack combo, which is actually just a waste of time because what we really want is to get more stacks so she can do more enhanced heavy attacks. So a quick gist of quick swapping is to swap between Aero Rover and Ciaccona to fill their gauges. Throw out Ciaccona's heavy attack whenever it becomes available, and then once she is singing, swap to Cartethyia and use her liberation. It is worth noting that you can improve upon this tremendously even, but that is some complex quick swapping for the top 0.5%, so focus on mastering this first. When you are on Fleurdelys, you can actually quick swap with Ciaccona and Aero Rover during certain parts of Fleurdelys' attacks, but I find it generally not worth it unless you have Ciaccona's signature or higher sequences. Even then, you have to really know how to swap with Fleurdelys, like using the mid-air attacks and making good use of that. That's the secret, by the way. Let's recap the base rotation, however. Aero Rover starts with their liberation. Skill, / in air, swap to Ciaccona, aerials for the bard, stacking, and land. Repeat until Aero Rover or Ciaccona is fully set up. Then, you're going to do the grounded Aero Rover resonance skill, and then you're going to Aalto from Aero Rover into Ciaccona, then she'll do her grounded combo into a heavy attack. Then, you'll use the resonance skill and her liberation. Once you complete that with Ciaccona, you've set up everything. From here, you're going to use Cartethyia's intro, basic attack 4, resonance skill, and then plunge. Liberation into Fleurdelys, and then you'll go crazy. That's the bread and butter. Once you've got that, everything else is just spice. The next character that works well with Fleurdelys is actually Cartethyia. Yup. The character that actually works the best with herself is herself. Yeah, that was kind of weird. But the general rotation for Fleurdelys and Cartethyia maintaining her stacks is simple. Let's go over some guidelines first. Warning, Fleurdelys will eat your stacks faster than the foot lovers want to eat her toes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, don't use basic attack 5, aerial attack 2, and resonance skill 2 willy-nilly. These eat your stacks, and we do not want to do that. You're allowed to eat one toe. Stack. Crap, I messed up. Anyway, depending on your team, you can eat a few of the stacks by using basic attack 5, or preferably her resonance skill, to do an insane amount of damage, but you are definitely limited by the amount of erosion stacks that you have, since she's going to actually be taking away one of those stacks. With certain teams and setups, you can eat more stacks. But for this particular setup, with just solo Cartethyia, or Cartethyia in general if you don't want to do too much quick swapping, you'll be able to use 1 to 2 of those enhanced techniques. So halfway through your rotation and before her forte is fully filled and her liberation to 2 is ready, you'll want to swap back to Cartethyia. You'll be able to use her basic attack 4 and or her resonant skill to get more stacks. She's going to get 1 stack from her basic attack, and she'll get 2 stacks from her resonant skill. So this is an easy way to refresh stacks. Awesome, right? Meaning that when you actually do her full rotation, she'll have 5 stacks. You'll get 2 stacks from her intro skill, then you'll get 1 stack from her basic attack 4, and then you'll get 2 more stacks from her resonant skill. When you use her liberation and do all of her attacks, and you swap back to Cartethyia, you'll be able to use her basic attack combo to actually get 1 more stack, which will put you at 6. Normally that's good to actually use her liberation. However, if you use 1 to 2 of her enhanced abilities, meaning her basic attack 5 combo or her resonant skill combo, then you can actually just wait a little bit and do Cartethia's resonance skill. Then you'll get 2 more stacks and you'll be good to go. Swap back to Fleurdelys and unleash her liberation. Now let's move on to more complex methods with our next character, Sanhua. For the sake of time, Sanhua works like any of the other characters that you want to use, so that means Aalto will do the exact same thing here. It's just that Aalto takes a little longer to rotate out, but he does get more benefits because his arrow damage buff buffs every part of Cartethia's kit. It's easy to weave them in, and we can take advantage of Cartethia's intro skill to easily get 2 stacks of erosion. So, you can preset up your sub DPS characters and have their concerto filled as much as possible, and once you finish up setting Aero Rover, and then Aalto from Aero Rover into Cartethyia, use the liberation to swap into Fleurdelys, and then you'll be able to do a few things. Firstly, for Sanhua, you can pre-buffer her by easily doing her skill, liberation, hold down that forte to actually finish that out. For Aalto, what I tend to do is just use his resonance skill whenever possible and then just kind of shoot through it every now and then, but my Aalto is like level 20, so who am I to say? Alright, so now let's go back to Fleurdelys, who has now just activated her liberation. You'll want to use 2 of those enhanced techniques to burn 1 to 2 stacks, then you'll swap modes to Cartethyia. The reason for this is because Cartethia's intro skill is different from Fleurdelys' intro skill, and Cartethia's intro skill will get you 2 stacks of arrow erosion. If you set everything up correctly, then you'll actually want to swap to your sub DPS, meaning Sanhua, and then you shouldn't really take long to trigger Sanhua's outro, but make sure you do use that Heron again if it's off cooldown, and then you'll outro right into Cartethyia and you'll immediately get 2 stacks of arrow erosion. Then you want to follow up with either a resonance skill or a basic attack 4, and then you'll swap back into your Fleurdelys, continue the onslaught, and then you'll finish out with your liberation, and you should have full stacks. Let's talk about Pheobe, because she is a lesser known Cartethia's candidate, and she's actually better than Sanhua in the right hands. Cartethia's is Cartethyia and Fleurdelys fused together, by the way. It's my little pet name for her. Pheobe does something amazing. After Fleurdelys eats a ton of her stacks, she's able to assist in completely refreshing all stacks. So this is how it works. Pheobe will deal Spectral Frazzle sub DPS damage until Fleurdelys is ready to actually refresh and unleash her liberation. You'll do the normal rotation that I explained before, except just use Phoebe's liberation and a resonance skill in between setting up Aero Rover. Once Aero Rover is actually ready, you'll use the outro skill to go into Cartethyia and use her combo, Liberation. Then you go crazy and ballistic and do all that you can completely freely. As you're doing this, you can either swap to Pheobe to apply some Spectral Frazzle, or if you have enough on there already, you can easily swap to Aero Rover, and then when you're actually in the air, press the resonance skill a second time. This will do the conversion and convert all of the existing Spectral Frazzle into erosion, which means that if you use a ton of stacks, you can immediately get to maximum stacks again. This lets you easily swap right back over to Fleurdelys without even doing anything crazy with Cartethyia, and detonate all of the stacks by activating the World Cleaving Slash. Pheobe is kind of a cheat code to ignore the limits of arrow erosion stacking. And here are some tips to actually get you on your way of doing so. Pheobe is super quickswap friendly. However, she is not good at quickswapping in an aerial team. Try to stay grounded when you actually swap between Pheobe and the other characters in the team, but if you do find yourself in the air and she does that weird floaty thing, actually just use a basic attack to dive and you can immediately cancel that landing animation by using either her liberation or her resonance skill. Also, remember that her resonance skill completely immobilizes bosses. Use this opportunity to hit them with Aero Rover's aerial attacks, cause it is so easy to miss against mobile bosses like the Tempest Memphis. You can also buffer her heavy attacks, meaning that when you do her basic attack 3, as that basic attack even begins, her heavy attack is actually ready. So when you swap off after doing those few basic attacks, you can actually just come right back in and unleash the heavy attack and even quick swap that heavy attack. Pheobe's rotation is quite free, and you can even swap between Fleurdelys when she's on field to get more frazzle stacks. Just make sure that you're doing the grounded basic attacks when you're actually doing that. It takes just a second to swap to a rover and do the conversion, and then back to Fleurdelys to unleash her liberation. Very cool stuff, and it's actually a little bit better than the Sanhua team. I was able to clear about 10 seconds faster. For all other characters and all other quick swappers such as Changli, Brant, Carlotta, what I actually found is that you definitely use them with Aero Rover when you're setting up all of the stacks. And then, when you're on Fleurdelys, you can actually freely swap between them using Fleurdelys' aerial combos, and this works really good with the likes of Changli and Brant, because they're able to easily do those aerial combos. However, it gets a little more complicated when you actually want to get more stacks, and I find that there's a really weird thing that happens. When I try to do too much and swap too much, Cartethyia will literally just end her liberation and nothing will happen. And I'm really confused on why this happens. Like, the manifest is supposed to pause, and I just really need to sit down and dissect exactly how each part of her kit works when utilizing these crazy teams in Quickswap, because whenever I do too much, it just doesn't work out right now. However, doing simple Quickswap, you could achieve some really cool things. This wasn't really a Quickswap guide, but more so a rotation guide. Cartethyia doesn't need Quickswap, but a little Quickswap goes a long way. This is the basis for how to utilize Cartethia's erosion stacks, however, which is the more important part. Using her intro strategically and using every part of her kit lets you utilize her most damaging moves. She won't be free to use all of them, but she can still fit in a couple of stack eating moves per rotation, which is pretty nice overall. So she's not easy to play, but she is definitely still usable with any character. You could even use her by herself because she can keep up her own erosion stacks. It's more cumbersome, yes. It's more annoying, yes. But Cartethyia will work without the likes of the premium unit Ciaccona with all of these options that I mentioned. You could even throw in Shorekeeper and Aero Rover and they can both buff Cartethyia. What's your overall thoughts, however? Now that I've laid out a functional way to play Cartethyia and actually keep up with her stacks and use certain parts of her kit, do you still not like the direction in which Kuro Games is making characters? I think that there should be more options and a 4-star replacement for Ciaccona to keep up an infinite amount of stacks, but definitely losing out on a ton of the damage, so you can just freely use Cartethyia because there's nothing like it. But let me know what you all think. Make sure to subscribe because we are near that 10K milestone. I have a very special video that I'm working on for celebration, and if you think Cartethyia is wild, just wait till we drop that 10K special. It is going to be chaos, Void style. Thank you all so much for supporting me on the way, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, Enigma out.